unaccustomed as I am. I'm the Dow Jones Index, and I'm here to talk about crypto and NFTs and shit of that nature. Before we jump into it, I'd love people to just put your hands in the air, both hands. Okay, put your left hand down, keep them up, put your left hand down if you got fucked by FTX. Well done, everyone. Put your left hand down if you got fucked by Luna. Okay. If you ginger, okay. Put your right hand down if you got fucked by Mt. Gox. My God, look at you all. Give yourselves a big round of applause. You've done well. You're surviving. So look, I'm gonna get into a few expectation-setting things right now. I'm really not here to inspire anyone. That's first off the mark. If you want some fist pumping, hashtag, we're all gonna make it. Randy Zuckerberg is good at that. She does music videos as well. You should check them out. And I'm really not here to do any of that whole... Really what I want to talk about today is this concept that we are not early. Now what I mean by that is... Hello? No? Hello? Ooh, there I am. And what I mean by we are not early is that it's time to stop making excuses. Excuses suck. Excuses are not comforting. Excuses don't build ecosystems. Now I'm going to talk about being not early in a few different ways. The first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to stand over here to talk about it, because that way you know which part of the talk I'm on, is that I'm going to talk about how we're not early with crypto, blockchain, and that whole part of this ecosystem. And then I'm going to walk over here. And over here I'm going to talk about how we're not early with indie music and digital music and building an industry of self-sovereign and sovereign identity through our own record labels and our own shit. And then I'm going to come back here and look like some kind of preacher and wrap it all up with a moral and a message. There might be time for questions. It kind of depends how off topic I get. But I want to start by reading you something. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to read from my phone for a bit. It's tacky, but what are you going to do? A spectre is haunting the modern world, the spectre of crypto anarchy. Computer technology is on the verge of providing the ability for individuals and groups to communicate and interact with each other in a totally anonymous manner. Two persons may exchange messages, conduct business, and negotiate electronic contracts without ever knowing the true name or legal identity of the other. Interactions over networks will be untraceable via extensive rerouting of encrypted packets and tamper-proof boxes, which implement cryptographic protocols with nearly perfect assurance against any tampering. Reputations will be of central importance, far more important in dealings than even the credit ratings of today. These developments will alter completely the nature of government regulation, the ability to tax and control economic interactions, the ability to keep information secret, and will even alter the nature of trust and reputation. The technology for this revolution, and it surely will be both a social and economic revolution, has existed in theory for the past decade. The methods are based upon public key encryption, zero-knowledge interactive proof systems, and various software protocols for interaction, authentication, and verification. Only recently have computer networks and personal computers attained sufficient speed to make the ideas practically realizable, and the next 10 years will bring enough additional speed to make the ideas economically feasible and essentially unstoppable. The state will, of course, try to slow or halt the spread of this technology, citing national security concerns. Many of these concerns will be valid. An anonymous computerized market could even make possible abhorrent markets, but this will not halt the spread of crypto anarchy. Just as the technology of printing altered and reduced the power of medieval guilds and the social power structure, so too will cryptologic methods fundamentally alter the nature of corporations. That's from 1992, which is a long time ago now. We're talking 30 years. So a little bit younger than me, showing my age. But the point of it is all of these messages that we're hearing in that document, the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto by Timothy C. May, those are ideas that we're sharing today as if they're new, as if we've just thought of them, as if there's some kind of groundbreaking thing that's been delivered on an asteroid by some alien species. But they're not. These ideas go so far back that they actually extend to the birth of the internet. Let's not forget that the actual internet itself is only, in its current form, around as old as that manifesto. We're talking 1990. Yes, we can go back to ARPA and all that stuff in the 60s and the 50s and 70s, all those. But the truth is, the crypto movement that we're all a part of has been around for a long time. But people like to say that we're early. People like to say that we're early and we're still just making it all up as we go along, and so, be kind to us. That might be the case in some areas. Going on from the 1992 manifesto, what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin, 2008. Bitcoin is now old enough to be starting high school, unless I'm getting my years wrong. I was homeschooled, I could be getting it wrong. But Bitcoin is old enough to be starting high school. That's been around for a pretty long time. So we've had these manifestos and ideas and white papers, we've had this technology we've been building on, and people keep on saying, we're early. Ethereum, we're talking like 2013 was when Ethereum was announced. I think it was 15 Ethereum was operational, I'm probably wrong, but something like that. That's a long time too. I mean, that's older than my kid, and my kid is about to start grade 1. All this tech that we keep on looking at, it has been around. Depending on who you talk to, NFTs, 2016, 2017, old enough to be starting kindergarten. All this tech is in the Sydney school system somewhere. And that means that it is not getting started. It's not kicking off, it's not being born, it's all out there right now. I was at NFT NYC earlier this year. Did anybody else go? NFT NYC? Okay, a few people made it over. And there was a lot of folks in power blazers and on various panels who wanted to tell us that we were early because all the stuff that crypto is good for will happen. It will happen tomorrow, it will happen next week, we could do this, we might do that, this industry is going to be rewritten, all these things. And it was all talking in hypotheticals. Talking in hypotheticals about a future that may or may not happen, that they were all incredibly stoked about because we were all going to #moon when it happened. And this whole sense kept on coming back to that one statement. We're early. It's okay if you don't have a product out there, we're early. It's okay if your product is a type form, we're early. It's okay if your product doesn't actually work, we're early. And it went on and on with this whole idea that, hey, we can sit on these excuses and be comfortable because we don't have to be ready for prime time just yet. And if you look at the history of this industry and ecosystem and all this stuff, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, whether it's CryptoKitties, it's been around. And the excuses that we make when we don't deliver good software that works, I just don't think that's a valid excuse. Not when you're looking at building on a foundation that has been thoroughly explored by some pretty fucking smart people who have accomplished and released incredible software. There are no excuses. Hype aside, we're not getting anywhere if we keep on saying we're early. When it comes to music, music is something that I'm pretty passionate about. I've been a touring musician. I do most of my work these days is with Moda, where we're building NFT music, and it's fantastic. Talk to me afterwards, I can shill then. But what I really look at that as being is very natural evolution. NFT music is a natural evolution of both crypto and music. So I'm going to walk over here like I said I would. And we're not early there either. Some of the music platforms that you talk to, some of the people who are very stoked about NFT music, they like to say we're early as well. And when that happens, I think it's just as much of an excuse because it's saying, hey, the stuff that we're building isn't great yet, it's not good yet, it's okay because we're early. But if you look at digital music and where that's come from, there are some interesting things that you can see. I mean, the MP3 format, that's older than I am. We're talking, it started in development, I think, 1988. People were starting to look at some of the proposals for the third layer of the MPEG software, which was going to actually build out the MP3 and make music shareable through different compression formats and so on. Digital music kind of really came into being roughly around 1993, 1994, when the MP3 was ready for prime time. So that digital file format that kind of revolutionized music as we know it That has been around for roughly the same time as that manifesto I read earlier. It's been around for about 30 years. And when we're looking at, okay, how are we going to treat a digital music industry, an industry of digital collectible music, we kind of go back to that and say, well, we've been working on these ideas for 30 years now. What have we actually done with them? And we've done a lot. You know, we built out Napster, we built out LimeWire, we built out a whole bunch of different services like Apple Music and Spotify and Tidal and Audio and Pandora and all these other streaming platforms, and we kind of revolutionized how we access music, and to some degree, we turned music into a digital commodity. We did all these things. But where we've reached is a point that is pretty late in the game. You know, if you wanted to redefine music as being a thing that is tangible, has value, that people care about, that gives artists their actual worth and lets them make a living, if you wanted to do that, you're pretty late, because Spotify has already come along and kind of fucked that. And a lot of platforms have come along and stuck themselves in as middlemen, and we've made some pretty arbitrary decisions about what file formats have value and what file formats don't, and you can pretty much look at the industry as it is today and just accept that a lot of things have happened and it's too late to dial it back. That's not being early, that's being pretty late to the game. You know, at this stage, nobody is going to stop Spotify. Nobody's going to stop streaming. Because once you unleash the entirety of the history of the world's music for $10 a month, nobody's dialing that back. And so if you wanted to assign real value to the music that we listen to, you're already too late. So this is a pretty bleak picture I'm painting here, right? We're late on crypto, we're late on music. But the question we've got to ask isn't what we should do to give up on this stuff. It's what happens next. Because ultimately, if we stop making excuses about the tech and the tools and the content and the way we build an ecosystem, if we stop making those excuses, we can actually start to build things that have value and that treat users correctly and that are designed for the long term. And that's a really interesting proposition to me, because I'm a huge believer in what this tech has the capacity to do. You know, as a musician, I'm a huge believer in the idea of self-sovereignty, in the idea of owning your music and selling your music and letting your fans own it and being able to build out your audience in a way that is true to your art form and who you are. I think that's huge. But it doesn't happen without proper tools. It doesn't happen without proper rails and infrastructure. And that kind of stuff won't come from a typeform. It will only come from people actually building working software, getting it out there, putting it into the hands of the users, letting them break it, fix it, put it back together again. That's how tech actually gets built. It doesn't happen by patting each other on the back and saying we're all going to make it. I think that's kind of a false way of looking at what we can do with this ecosystem. Music as we know it today, it's a pretty powerful force. It's a powerful force with very limited revenue streams. Because we're coming into this not early, possibly bang on time, we've missed the opportunity to modify and change and shape some of those revenue streams. You know, we missed the opportunity around streaming. That one's gone. We've missed many of the opportunities around licensing. That's gone. But we haven't missed the opportunities that are in front of us right now if we can actually build proper digital collectible music. And if we can do that in a way that centers artists and centers their fans and doesn't center VC funds backing huge platforms and doesn't center middle layers and so on. So if we come in at this and we look at music and we say, hey, we're not early, we're on time, we can start to take advantage of the industry as it is today and deliver software today. But we can only do that if we look at the crypto kind of part of the problem and accept that we're not early there either. That the tools are here, the products are here, the chains are here, all of the tech is here today, and all of the stuff that we need to do, that we need to use, that we need to deploy, it's pretty much here today. And so I think if you're a founder in this industry right now, your job isn't to hype people up, and your job isn't to get people excited about what you're gonna do tomorrow. Your job is to put your head down and actually build stuff today. Release stuff today and make shit happen for your users. Find out what's working and find out what's not. Anything else, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of a cop-out. Now, I said I wasn't going to inspire people, so I really hope I haven't. And if I have, seriously, I'm going to be so disappointed in all of you. But I wanted to give you kind of a vision for where I think all of this can go next. I think what we can do from here in a terrible bear market where a whole bunch of people have lost a lot of money on centralized exchanges and the sentiment has died off, a bad condition. What we can do is we can take some time to actually build some stuff. And if it takes until 2029 for another bull market to come, honestly, it could, I'm okay with that. Because I see this whole period as the time for people who are serious about this tech and this world to actually create the products that are going to matter. And part of that will be creating music NFTs and educating people about music NFTs and showing them, hey, there's some cool music you can buy. And part of that will be releasing actual software tools that work. And none of it will be vaporware, because vaporware doesn't help anyone. Vaporware is a pointless waste of time. That's the vision that I have for the future of crypto, is people actually spending this time, spending the next few years, delivering products and services. And the vision that I have for music over here is even better, because I see a world where, post-COVID, musicians get into some of this crypto stuff and they actually develop better revenue streams. And instead of waiting for tech people to one day get around to giving them rights, artists are able to accept, yes, there are opportunities right here in front of us right now, and make something of those opportunities. And they can do it with the support of people who are building good tech and releasing good tech, not people who are dreaming about vaporware. Overall, I think I want people to walk away from this with one simple message. No, we're not fucking early. At best, we are right on time. And what you do with the time that you have today actually matters. Because if you throw it all away, and you put on your power blazer and you get up on stage on a panel and you get hyped, nothing's going to get built.
Testing. Okay, looks like we can... Am I going to get rugged? Doesn't matter anyway. Let's have some questions for Joan. That was incredible. Anyone? Starting here. Yep.
So Joan, my name is Edward Carpenter. It's a real pleasure to be listening to you in person. We're connected on Twitter. And I know that writer and journalist are two of your big tags in the space. NFT books are sort of my niche in the NFT world. And so this talk's been focused a lot on where we're at with the music. Amazon dominates ebooks the way that Spotify dominates music, perhaps. And I'm just wondering if you have thoughts on literary NFTs, which again are sort of a very new and small niche. We're usually seeing a lot of visual NFTs. So very curious what your thoughts, if any, on that space are.
So publishing has a very different problem to music. Music has people who spend countless hours listening to music each year. And whether they're listening to it on Spotify or on vinyl, whatever it is, they're listening to music. But the problem facing publishing is actually a very different one, that the time that people spend reading books has been decreasing steadily each year since 2015. Which means that your mission is not to get out there and persuade people to buy an NFT book. Your mission is the same as any publisher, which is to persuade people to spend time reading. Because when people are sitting down to read a book, you're actually competing not with other authors, not with other publishers, you're competing with TikTok and Twitter and Netflix and Spotify and all this other stuff for people's time. And so the crisis in publishing, it's not so much people aren't buying books, it's literally that people aren't reading books. And if you don't solve that, it won't matter what format you're selling it in. And that's the sad truth of it.
Next question. Yep. Ash?
Oh no. No, he said he was going to disagree with me earlier today, so.
Not a disagreement, but I think I'd like to get your opinion on what parts of the technology space in crypto Web3 do you think is early, and you're looking forward to those technologies maturing and providing opportunities for us to build on top of for music publishing, etc.
For music publishing, I think the biggest area is probably going to be finding a way to automate all publishing royalties on-chain. We're a long way off from that, and I don't even know whether that would be a good thing or a bad thing, but it's
So early?
a massive opportunity there. It's not so much that we're early on that as we're late on the quagmire that is the current publishing industry standards and so on. In terms of what tech kind of excites me about what we could build on, I think Vitalik's blog post the other day about how to build an actual trustless exchange is a really good starting point.
Awesome, thanks.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes or so to go, so we'll definitely keep the questions coming. If anyone else has got a question, looking around the room. Anyone? Joan, I got a question while everyone starts to ponder their own question. How many people have you killed on LinkedIn individually?
1 or 2. Look, if you're going to copy and paste somebody's tweet and claim it's your own post, like somebody's going to comment, and it's going to be me, because I'm a bitch.
So if you're not following Joan on LinkedIn, I highly encourage you to do so. Any other questions? Because we do have a couple of minutes right here.
Hey, I'm new to this space. Think
Welcome.
of me as somebody who's been living under the rock and just turned up today for NFT Fest. But I've been trying to unpack your statement here where you said the crypto manifest was written in the 1990s, 92. Blockchain has been in existence, or Bitcoin has been in existence since 2014. What is your observation of why this hasn't taken off? Because you've said we're late, and the technology and the idea has been here for a long time. Why hasn't it taken off? Except for people trying to make money out of it.
I think it's a few factors. A part of the problem has been that crypto is both a tech layer and a speculative asset. And it has been an interesting and difficult time for speculative assets since the 2008 market crash. You know, people have been in a weird place with a lot of this kind of stuff, and they've either been flocking to things like Bitcoin because they want to instantly make money, or they've been running from them because they're scared of getting robbed. And that means that instead of having the room to just grow as a tech layer, it's had all this volatility from people trying to use it as a speculative asset to make up for losses or to create new losses or to create new wins. And so whenever people try to build tech on top of that, you're going to have so much volatility that it scares some of the builders off. And I think on top of that, because of the volatility, it tends to make people a little bit short-sighted. So people think about the next 3 months rather than the next year. So instead of spending a year quietly building, people want to get something out there and announce it and try to create hype to capitalize on what the market is doing today, instead of thinking about what's it going to do long term. So I think it's those two things have kind of bitten us again and again.
Thank you.
Probably do one more question if someone else has got a question. Right up the back here.
So why do you think people actually forget about the early cryptographers and CryptoPunks of the 90s and 80s?
We have a really short collective memory. You know, we forget things all the time. It's how we keep winding up committing genocide. We keep forgetting we've done it before. And it might sound flippant, but like it really is true. Like, as societies, as communities, as people, we tend to cycle through the same things over and over again, and then every time we rethink of them, it's a revelation to us, and we think, wow, we've never thought of that before. And so our short collective memory just means that this shit keeps getting lost. And I think, unfortunately, one of the problems with the web is that we do keep on losing really good thoughts and really good threads that are out there on walled garden pages that get taken down and things like that, and which is one area where I really think blockchain stuff is useful because we can properly archive the things that matter. But I think we have to get better at using our collective memory and not forgetting the stuff that actually is important to us.
We probably do have time for one more if someone... Yep, just here.
I was just wondering sort of what advice you would give to people like me who every time I'm out and I meet young musicians or sort of like up-and-coming producers, and I suggest to them that they NFT their music, they sort of like laugh at me. And it's like Gen Z people, and I feel like NFTs have a really bad reputation at the moment with the young generation. And how do we fix that?
I believe that that only gets fixed by people seeing case studies of successful NFT music. And so I think there are some people out there who are not going to get persuaded, no matter how many good points you make about NFT music, but they will be persuaded when they see some of the artists break through and start to achieve success in that space. And once we have those case studies, people will start to understand. And I say that because that's pretty much how it was with the internet. You know, like people were laughing at it, musicians and bands were laughing at it and so on, except for the Grateful Dead, their community loved it. But people were kind of hesitant to get onto it until some folks broke through. And so I think for me, rather than spending my time trying to persuade people who have already decided they don't like NFT music, I'm giving my time to the artists who have an open mind about it. In the same way that, and we've got some great artists at Moda that we do that with, like Jack, who's playing at the opening party tomorrow, Soiree, who is playing as well, some really epic up-and-coming young artists who have embraced this kind of technology. And they're the people who I think deserve my time and my energy because they have an open mind and they are already into this stuff. It's the same as I don't spend my time on the internet yelling at transphobes. They're not going to be persuaded, like I spend it talking to cool people who like me.
Amazing. All right, well, we might wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Joan. Round of applause.